Peepla the Purple Butterfly here, otherwise known as Peepla7 on Twitter and YouTube, Peepla elsewhere on the internet. And my blog is located at purplebutterfly-peepla.blogspot.com. And I just bought some yarn called Flaunt from Michaels, rolled it up into a standard ball. And I'm going to put it in this so it can roll around while I'm working with it and not roll across the floor. Okay, because we don't like when our yarn escapes while we're working with it. The end of the yarn was literally just cut into a frazzle like that. So I put a knot at the end and then just very carefully trimmed off this frazzle-razzle. Because if you're putting out a product that you might give away as a gift or whatever, you want to at least have a professional finish. Now we're going to take a size 4 needle. This demonstration is for Miss Mary, by the way. She wanted to know how to work with this yarn. I'm going to read what the label says. And my first instinct to just stick the needle through the loops turns out to be correct. But that was before I opened up the label to see exactly what it does say. It says, working with Flaunt. I'm not wearing my glasses, so don't laugh at the way I have to read. Flaunt is a flat type yarn that consists of a woven piece topped with a row of eyelets. To work with Flaunt, only knit with the thread above the eyelets. The woven area under the eyelets will form soft ruffles when you knit. To knit, insert the needle into each eyelet and pull only the top thread through the stitch. Do not try to pull the complete strand of yarn through. Finished piece will be ruffled on both sides if working in garter stitch. So if you just want it ruffled on the front, just stockinette stitch. But to make this scarf, you're doing a garter stitch. And you're casting on 15. So, and I got my size 4s that are 2 different colors. Okay, one's beige, one's gray. I figured that'd be an easy visualization. I have several sets of all my needles, so that's easy for me to do. But starting with the knotted edge, I'm finding where the eyelet is prominent, so that would be that one there. And then we're just going to zip through 15 times. Or if you want to have a true knitted appearance, you can actually loop like that. See what I just did? But you're making sure you're getting the eyelets only, not the woven part. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's 15. Which is taking up most of my 14-inch needle, but when knitted, it's going to look like that. Isn't that cool? And don't worry about what's the front and the back, because this type of yarn is made to look the same on the front and the back. Now, the first row is going to be a little tricky. I'm going to turn the needle around, so that way I'm starting from my right. And you're still going to somehow manage to do your tension method, and that might be a little tricky. And I'm going to try to get where the camera can see. You're going to stick the yarn in. You're going to bring the loop from the next eyelet. And it's going to be the only hard part since you're now turning the yarn in reverse. And you're going to pull that off the needle and do the same thing with the next one. Now, I'm going to try to get right literally in the camera so you can see what I'm doing. See, that's your flat side, your lead string rather. And these are stitches on the needle. Okay, that stitch is already made. I'm going to take this one, stick the needle in there, bring the loop from the eyelet on the yarn, pull that through, and slide the needle off. Okay, and if you're doing this correctly, those are basically lining up, as you could tell. So into this one, pull that one, Oh, wait a minute. Suppose it helps if I'm looking at what I'm doing. And pull that off the needle. So now I have what looks like 2 pieces of fluff that are connected. By the time I get up 3 or 4 rows, they will be ruffles. So we're going to complete this row. And I know it's not on camera at the moment, but I'm trying to get it where you can see what the finished row is going to look like. So that way, when we get to the next row, it should be easier to demonstrate. The only hard part working with any yarn of this type is the first row. After that, all the subsequent rows, now if you stretch it completely out, it's going to look like that. Okay? But during the work, it's going to close stuff up and make ruffles. So next we'll go to the next row. And I'm going to put my yarn behind since we are doing, shall we say, a garter stitch. So now the yarn has to come on top and leave the work on the needle facing downward. That way you can basically control your stitches. So we're going to the loop we made on the needle and the loop that's on the yarn. Okay? The loop that's on the needle into the opening that's there on the yarn, the eyelet as it were. See that? Pull that eyelet through the loop you have on the needle. Release. And it does not have to be tight. In fact, it's better if it's not tight. That's why they say don't try to pull all of the eyelet strand or cable rather through. So now we're on the second row, and as you can tell, it's already making a ruffle that's slightly further up than the original one. Okay. And loop on the needle, the eyelet, the loop on the needle, your eyelet. And since it is a flat yarn, if it starts twisting, all you gotta do is just kind of straighten it out so you can see where you're working. Okay, that way it does not twist on you. See? I mean, even when you're pulling it out the ball, you can just make sure that your work is flat. It won't matter once you start knitting, but you want to make sure your work is flat. Okay. We looked on YouTube and there was no videos on this yarn, which is why I'm doing this. And the people at the store were saying, oh, just go to YouTube, there'll be a video tutorial. No, there was not. So here we go. The loop that's on the needle, the loop that's in the eyelet. The ruffle, leave that alone. Let that just hang down. You want to get the eyelet to match up. The eyelet becomes the very thin yarn that's on the needle. Okay? The eyelet that's on the yarn itself becomes the next stitch that hangs on the needle. You only want 1 stitch per eyelet. So when you put that eyelet on and knit it, don't get tempted to say, hey, I could fit another stitch in there. Nope. 1 stitch per eyelet. And you keep going that way until you have a finished work. Now I'm going to go do 10, 20 more rows and come back to let you see what the finished work look like. But that is your basis of how to get started working with Flaunt. Stay blessed, stay tuned. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.